And that's it. Any other questions?
That's good.
I was just going to ask, how do banks look at things like this when they're loaning you money to build your home? And also
That's a good question. I talked to a mortgage broker about it because somebody else asked a question like that at a presentation I did a while back. I talked to a mortgage broker and they said the off-gridness of the house isn't likely to affect the mortgage lender, provided they're happy with the house if it were on-grid, if you know what I mean. So if you're building a house yourself with all kinds of weird features, the bank may not be too happy with you to begin with. And it may, so I think that the thought is that if the house is something that they would go for just of and in itself, that the fact that it's off-grid is not likely to dissuade them, or that's what they said. And
Their concern will be resale if you defaulted. As
Yeah.
long as there's a market to recover their investment.
Well, presumably, yes.
Yeah, that's all I want.
So you said your house is pretty much the same after it leaves the breaker box. The rest of the house is kind of wired
Oh,
in a
yeah,
typical way.
absolutely.
So it would be fairly easy.
Well, in
right?
our case, because we are near the power wires, it
Yeah.
would be very straightforward to have power run in and connect it up to it.
Right.
I kind of like the bragging rights of, people say you're off grid, and I say, do you see any wires out there? No. So, but yes, it would be entirely possible. Lady at the back here.
When you were installing your wiring, how far apart were the DC wiring from the AC wiring?
I don't know that we paid any attention to that. We just ran the DC wires wherever they needed to go, and they were on similar wire, a little bit thicker wire than you might use for AC. But I don't know, the electricians just ran it wherever it needed to go. I don't think they were paying any more attention to the fact that it was AC and DC as they were to just, where they put any other wires. But does that answer the question?
Yeah, I've just heard that if you have your AC and DC wires hooked up together, it can cause some interference, and then if you have your LED lights running on the DC, then it'll make your lights flicker a bit. But are your lights on DC or AC?
The lights are on AC. The only things that are on DC are the fridge, freezer, well pump, and the fan. But yeah, I wouldn't have thought they'd cause interference, but I'm not an electrical engineer either.
Yeah.
Gentleman here.
Do the building codes restrict your placement of solar panels or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, the roof, there was a concern. The building inspector wanted to make sure that the roof was up to taking the weight of the solar panels. Given the amount of snow we get around here and how much that weighs, I wouldn't have thought that would be a problem, but that was the question that was asked, and apparently we made them happy because they let us do it. Beyond that, I don't know. I mean, you probably don't want to put solar panels so it blocks your neighbor's sun, but I don't know what the legal requirements are on that.
And then insurance-wise, it's just a matter of you pass the inspection and they're happy to insure you still?
They looked at our house twice before they insured it partly because we have no backup heat, as it were. Our only heat is solar and wood. That's it. There's no propane or oil backup heat, so it was kind of unusual. So the insurance company sort of scratched their heads a bit before they went ahead and insured us. And in fact, there was, at one point, I said my daughter lives in Australia. We went down there for her wedding at one point, which happened to be in the middle of winter because it's summer there in our winter. And so the house was on its own for 7 weeks through late November, December, and early January. With only solar heat, that was it, because there was nobody there to stoke the wood burning stuff, and it did fine. And it got chilly, it got down to about 9 degrees in there on occasions, but then it was minus 15 out at nights on occasions. But we sort of held our breath on that one. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen, but it worked out fine.
So did you drain your water system before you went?
I was going to put antifreeze in it, but then just as we were getting ready to leave, the pump that I was going to do that with broke, and so we held our breath.
Did you turn off your well pump?
Oh, yeah,
then?
so you
turn off your well pump anay, so
but
if it did
I was
freeze, you would
hoping
have
the
people
lines
flood.
wouldn't freeze, and in fact, we took all the things that might freeze in the kitchen and put them in the bathtub, so it did freeze, they froze in the bathtub. But no, in fact, it never got below +9 in the house, which was quite adequate. Gentleman here.
I'm just wondering, these things are expensive, in terms of capital cost. If you were to do it all over again, what would you recommend, or what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? Well, I put the wind turbine in when we did it. And I would have omitted that simply because the wind resource wasn't really good enough where we were. It's breezy up there frequently, but it's not the kind of wind that you need. really you should probably put up an anemometer and check this for a year to see whether you've got the wind that you need to make it go. I thought we did, we didn't. So that's something that I would do differently. Other than that, the one thing I think I would do differently, the initial panels were up on the roof where they're hard to get at. I quite like the ones that are down on the ground because I can go back there with the big broom and dust the snow off. It helps. It's a bit of a fiddle to get at. This last year I was back there on snowshoes to get at it, but nonetheless you can do it, and it makes a tremendous difference. So that's about the only thing I would do differently.
What was the slope on your,
45 degrees.
45.
That is my understanding of the ideal angle for this. For
Match your latitude.
Yeah, yeah.
That gives you the most power over the year.
Oh, over the year, yeah,
A
exactly.
16-12 slope will give you the most power you can get in January without sacrificing power in July. That's what I have in my roof, but still the snow does stick to it, especially when you have a light snow. That half inch of light fluffy snow, and it just hangs up there. And
Yeah,
you want to go up there and kick it, but
This brings up an interesting point. You said you have the panels on the ground. Why would you not make the panels on the ground adjustable so you could change the angle for the year?
Mostly because in the winter, there's not an awful lot of sun to be, well, for one thing, it makes the installation a lot more complicated. It's not to say you can't do it, it's
Yeah.
just, it's more complex, and it means I gotta go back there and do it and fiddle around with it. So it's extra cost for that. It struck me that where instead of spending the extra money to have this adjustable panel, just add a couple more panels and
Okay.
be done with it. The panels are relatively inexpensive, and
You got space.
compared to the cost of the stuff you've got to put them on, the relative cost goes up. And I'm not gonna get that much more in the winter, and I've already got more than I need in the summer.
Okay.
in the summertime, you got more energy than you know what to do with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Start
oh,
thinking
absolutely.
about storing hydrogen, and then,
To run your generator, and then you run a hydrogen generator
oh,
instead
no,
of a propane
no,
generator.
no.
I have hot water solar panels on my roof,
Yeah.
and I went to Costco, and they have a roof rake.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, they call it roof rake, and literally, you put it on the top, and you can pull it down, and I can get mine are very close to the peak of my roof. I've got a single-story house, and it's got a 8-12 pitch, so it's low, so that's why I want to get it off. The more important thing is to clear it off the photovoltaic panel, which runs my pump, right? So in order to reach the top of the panel, they actually have to put a ladder against the roof and then stand on the top of the ladder and rake it off.
Well, there's a great
Except last
video
year
buddy
it's still
shows
not so big, but-
from Vermont. He tried to pull down the snow,
Yeah.
but it's actually more efficient to actually push it up and then it slides off.
Yeah, once you
slides
clear
off.
the lower panel,
Yeah,
right, then the stuff on the top panel, as soon as you touch it, it virtually slides off.
right on,
Yeah, and then well, the trick there is once you clear it, you want to make sure you clear it all the way off the roof, but otherwise you get a buildup, and then it's harder to get off.
yeah.
But it's, it was like 20-something bucks for the roof rake.
That's one thing about ground mounted just
Late
Yeah.
like that.
new technology, which is really
Dealing with some sort of
progressive.
Hang on, sorry, there's,
I have a question for people in the room. How many people are already functioning with off-grid type systems?
100% off grid, less than $500 a year energy inputs. That includes the wood.
I got a quote to put my house with on-grid solar, and it was, I think, $15,000 for my house. And it's a 1,800 square foot house in west end of Halifax. in
and how many
Rockland.
watts of power?
I can't remember, I think it was 18 panels.
Okay.
I had a passive system in '98 in my house that provided 30% of my energy in a 4,200 square foot house.
It's a big house.
So the reflector was really good. It was actually ironic, the house was built by a ExxonMobil engineer. But he did a great job orienting the house stuff and that, but that was my
He knew
first.
where the oil was going. Yeah, inside track.
Yeah, and as I was saying, the other thing about the adjustable mount is that you can make it vertical in winter, which is very nice if there's snow on the ground.
Yeah.
That's pretty much your optimum, and it'll really shed the snow there. Plus you can get at it too, and you can get pipe mounts and stuff that'll hold a huge rack.
Yeah.
So
They
those are
make
adjustable
mounts
and
for
trackable.
boats, which are adjustable.
Oh, yeah,
So it's on
okay,
a
sure.
pole and holding, you just go
Yeah.
and then adjust.
Yeah, no, it's
So it's-
adjusting, it's a fine idea, I'm just too lazy to.
Additional cost.
It's more
Bother
fiddly
doing
for
that.
sure.
But that might be a nice retrofit for you.
No, I'm still too lazy, even if I.
Well, the reason I ask is because, like, obviously the demand in the tiny house is considerably smaller, so if you scale it down,
Yep,
you could probably power a tiny house with 2 panels.
yep,
2 panels and a couple of batteries, right? Maybe 4 panels, depending on the size of the tiny house. But if you make it to make it more efficient, some people put the panels on the ground, but if you're in an area where you don't want them on the ground, you could put them on a rack.
Yeah, for if the
Because
smaller.
it's such a small array.
Exactly, I mean, the thing I've got has got 12 panels on it, it's like from here to that wall,
Yeah.
and, you know,
Yeah.
quite high, it would be quite a bit of an exercise to
Yeah.
move that. But if you've got a smaller rack for a tiny
Smaller
house, it
arrays.
would make much more sense.
So what's your kilowatt on the roof?
I've got 2,400 watts on the roof and
Yes,
3,000
2.4
watts on the
kilowatts.
ground. Yeah, 2.4 kilowatts on the
Yeah.
roof and
Yeah.
3 kilowatts on the ground.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions for Cam?
No? Well, thank you very much, it's been a pleasure.